We'll just say it was productive. You guys, I remember my very first nutrition response testing training I think it was 2011. And I remember finding out, well, let's see, Odin is how old? I can't remember, but so this wouldn't have been the 2011, this would have been the 2014, right? Because he was born in 2015. So this was, I don't remember which training. So my very first training, I tested for parasites, was sort of like, okay, like that's just an immune challenge, right? No big deal. And then started to kind of get like, gosh, they're a thing. Like they can really take something to get rid of, and was still, you know, in the world of standard process. Like that's how we handled things at that level. And by the time I was pregnant with Odin and was in the advanced clinical training, we had a whole slew of new tools to use at that time. And they were effective. And what I have discovered though, over the past couple of years, is that we needed to expand. We needed to move into something that was really going to like bore into the deep, dark depths of people's bodies to start handling what some of these lines alone weren't handling. I found if I did a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I combined some things, that we found some pretty powerful ways of handling, you know, parasites in people. And I should really just back up and say all of this. As a clinical master in nutrition response testing, I don't treat, diagnose, or prescribe, but have the incredible ability to test people and find out exactly what vial their body, you know, is testing for or having an issue for. And I don't know if it's our geographical location or where it is exactly, but we see a lot of tick/bug-borne bacteria and then eventual parasites with people. And we see a lot of mutated parasites, really meaning what can't be necessarily found with Western medicine. And here is what we know. People will go and get a stool sample, and just guess what? Like if that parasite isn't hanging out in that area of your bowels on that day, that moved into that little petri dish or catcher or whatever, they're not going to show up. So if they are testing in other areas of your body, you're not necessarily going to see them, okay? And you ultimately don't see 70% of what you pass anyway, which can be a little bit disheartening when people are working really hard at getting rid of parasites and they're looking at their bowels every time and they're like, I don't see anything. That's because you're not going to see the majority of what is passing. And the more you look, the more you discover, actually. And so this conversation, you know, maybe shouldn't be held over lunch. I didn't really think about that, but I'll try not to get too detailed. But, you know, it really started with my clients who started kind of digging through and looking. They'd find an old set of, you know, wooden chopsticks or a popsicle stick or something. And they're like, you know, when I moved my stool, like, wow, am I really supposed to see X, Y, Z? And so, or they'll say, why does it look like there's rice in my poop? Like, I don't eat rice. I don't eat that kind of food. So people that was kind of what started to push me towards, okay, I'm going to start peeking, because I think all of us as moms, you know, we're looking through diapers for marbles, and we're looking for, those things that we think our kids swallowed, a penny or something like that. And we find things like undigested food, and we find little balls of mucus, and we don't know what any of that means, what that looks like, and really what it's telling us about our microbiome and the health of our body, et cetera, et cetera. And I shared earlier on a Facebook Live I did this morning, just to say, you know, hey, let's start having this conversation, because I've had a history of about 10 years of dealing with parasites off and on. And I say off and on because when something is testing here in the office, it's really your body's way of saying, like, okay, that thing, I'm not winning that game. That thing is winning the game. Gluten is winning the game, or, you know, this bacteria is winning the game. So we want to win the game. We want a strong body and a strong immune system, and we want to win that game. And so interestingly enough, at times of really big stress and life being really, really big, like not sleeping for 4 years in a row, you know, running a business, managing a family, having a husband who's also self-employed, like that's a lot to manage. And then they like come creeping in and they come taking over, and things like more cellulite showed up and muscle loss showed up, and like chronic sinus stuff starts to show up. I start kicking out all my metals, and vaccines from my childhood start showing up. And it's just like, gosh, like, why do I feel like my health starts to go to pot? And then we start to handle it, and these things start to get managed. Okay. So handling it really just means in our office that you have tested for a particular protocol that works for you. Now, one of the things we're going to talk about today is the CellCore Biosciences Full Moon Challenge. And the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about that is because I get excited about it. We talk about it here in the office with lots of our clients, and ultimately these little critters will, I've got notes over here, so this is why my head is turning into the other direction. I'm also seeing, frankly, this should be like a 90-minute webinar, Elaine, so note to self, we should really put that on for some time in May over or after a lunch hour.
Okay.
It is important to find a way for these guys to get out of our bodies. That's just period. Like, they need to come out. We don't want them coming out of our face. We don't want them coming out of our eyes. We don't want them coming out of our skin. We want them to come up through the bowels. It's the easiest way to get rid of them, and the least invasive, if you could say it like that. Parasites increase inflammation. They compromise your gut health. They're like total freeloaders because hi Crystal, they absorb your nutrients, and so you are deprived, literally deprived. You know, when we take in zinc bolsters your immune system, and that's a threat to parasites. And when they rob us of zinc, it sort of like secures them a spot in your real estate. So it's interesting, right, that you're like taking in all the zinc and handling your immune system, but then testing poorly for it. So who is in there getting those nutrients that you are paying for and that you are taking good care to get those foods and supplements in your body? You want to get those guys out of there. So the Full Moon Challenge, the reason I love the Full Moon Challenge, really it's because it just will increase your cleansing benefits. So you can be on like a parasite cleanse. I don't really know if I like the word cleanse. You can be on parasite protocol, like anti-parasitics. You can be killing them off, you can be draining them off, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want an additional push, I would say is kind of a way to look at why you might want to do the Full Moon Challenge. And I know people who have struggled with their health in general for a really long time, who have struggled with their mental, emotional health and well-being, who have just kind of popped in to do a Full Moon Challenge and immediately saw results. You know, like things got better. Like I know for me, my periods are so much better now that I've added that additional Full Moon Challenge in almost every single month since, I don't know when that was, October or November. It makes a dramatic difference in my health. You know, people say to me like, well, how do I get these parasites? You can just get them from walking around barefoot outside. And how many of you are actually going to stop walking around barefoot in the summer? We're not. Like, we need to be grounded by that earthing, right? We need that connection to the pulsed electromagnetic field of the earth. Like, we need to be fueled by that. We swim in lakes and oceans. We drink water. We eat vegetables. We have pets. I mean, I don't think that we will stop living our lives, in which case we still will bump into these. So again, it's more about setting up our little ecosystem such that we can beat them and they can't beat us, because we are literally like providing them with room service. Let me see here. So let me just give you about the Full Moon Challenge, because it's like such an easy thing to do. It's a really easy thing to manage, and it's easy to manage not only like for yourself, but for your household. When we are dealing with clients here in the office, I will start them out on their full moon challenges if that's what they choose to do, by actually dosing them. So I was actually looking for the suggested dosing. I can't, I have it in front of me. I can't find that. Let me look this up here. This isn't like just accessible by me. This is, everybody could find this on the CellCore Biosciences website. Hi, Griff, look at you. Look at all the little dudes. Da, 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 da. Okay, I'll see if I can find that later for you guys. It's just a nice guide when people are asking like, okay, well, where would I start for a full moon challenge? Each of the full moon challenge includes 3 bottles. Okay, so it's a biotoxin binder, a para 1 and a para 2, all from CellCore Biosciences. And Elaine could post our CellCore information for if that's something that you're wanting to order at the end of this. I'm looking to see too. I can't see what I'm having a hard time finding this right now. So you have to think about it like your investment will last you many moons. Haha, no pun intended, but it really will last you a few moons, which is really nice too, because we pay good money for supplements, right? To support our health and our well-being. And it's frustrating to see any of that go to waste. The best thing I tell our clients is, if you test out of something, you just put that on your shelf and you have kind of your own apothecary that you can reach for and we can reach for in our continued testing for you when things are coming up with your health. Now, in regards to a full moon challenge, there's a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced. So the beginner is a 3-day setup. So that is the day before the moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after the full moon. That's your beginner setup. And the doses are pretty low. I think that it's just 1 or 2 a day. And like I said, I'm, for whatever reason, can't pull up what I'm looking for right now. The intermediate is a 5-day. So what I usually do for that is, let's say, Elaine, will you pull up the date of the full moon for May? I want to say it's somewhere between the 7th and the 12th. I can't quite remember. 7th. Okay. So if you're doing the intermediate and you're going to do the 5-day, you're going to start on the 5th, the 6th, the 7th will be in the middle, the 8th and the 9th. Okay, so from the 5th to the 9th is going to be your full moon challenge. And you will take those doses, the biotoxin binder, the para 1 and the para 2 during that time. If you are doing the advanced, and like I do the advanced, but I did start with, I think I started with the beginner, and I would just say start there, particularly if you've never done it before. The advanced is a full 7 days. And that would be, like your 3 or 4 days before, including the day, and then 3 days after. And you just put that full moon smack dab in the middle. I have also started it late before when I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like in 2 days. And I have started that and I'll just go a full 7 days, but I seem to get the best results when I put that full moon day right smack dab in the middle of that 5 or 7 day run. And one thing that you want to do with your full moon challenge is you don't want to combine your binders and your para 1, para 2. You want to keep them separate, particularly your best result is really going to come from taking those para 1s and para 2s right when you get out of bed. So I kind of say during the full moon challenge, I keep it on my nightstand because I always have a water bottle that I go to bed with and wake up with. So for me, before my feet really hit the floor, I just take out the number of para 1s and para 2s that I need and pound them right away in the morning. And then I put the binders in at lunch. It's just easy for me. It's then separate of everything else, and I don't forget it. If I have to start doing things 4 or 5 times a day, I will forget. And so if I'm really working hard at something, I will be more intentional about it, but this really seems to work best for me. And then you're going to put your evening dose of para 1 and para 2 in right before you go to bed. So again, you tucked into bed, maybe you're going to sit up and read for a little bit. You're going to go ahead and take your para 1 and para 2 right before you go to bed. And then the doses, will apply. I would just say, ask me specifically for dosage information. The thing that I'm looking for, I'm not finding, and I don't know why. So I can just support you in that. For an advanced dose, to give you an example, for the 7-day, I do go through sometimes a little bit more than a bottle. I'm on the average taking between 15 and 18 each, para 1 and para 2, both in the morning and in the evening. So that puts me at 60 to 70 capsules a day just from the para 1, para 2 biotoxin binder. But I don't care because I get results and I feel better every time and every month and get stronger and have more muscle tone. And it's like, feels so good to be getting back to myself after having a really rough 4 years postpartum with Odin. So it's pretty exciting to think that he stopped nursing the day after he turned 4, August 9th. And I did a 3-week cleanse on top of my, on top of, stopping, weaning him from nursing. Granted, he was only nursing like once a day, just for kicks kind of deal. But within 30 days, so I did a 3-week cleanse. I brought in my methylation support. I then started bringing in more consistent parasite support. I started the Full Moon Challenge in September, October. But already within a month, I could start to see like, okay, I'm getting my body back. I'm starting to get that restorative sleep in. And so it's pretty remarkable, that I'm 9 months later and starting to really experience like, oh, this is who I was before I got pregnant, getting back to feeling like I'm getting my body back, if that's a thing when you're 44, I don't know. But feeling strong and starting to get rested, and more importantly, getting rid of these things that were causing me extreme bloating, muscle loss, pretty instantaneous gain of cellulite when he was about 18 months old, which for me was that hadn't happened to me before. I had not been one to carry cellulite. So once I started to carry it, I really noticed it, and I could really tell that my lymph wasn't moving. I could tell that things were really off, and then started to test more and more and more for parasites. And it was really hard to catch up on them just with what we had in the office. So it really took adding in the CellCore Biosciences products to really make that difference for us. And it is interesting, even at their trainings, it's like half of us in the room are kinesiologists and the other half in the room are doing functional medicine or whatever they're doing. And man, oh man, we really do have the upper hand doing muscle testing with this work. A lot of it is guesswork. It's not that it's not good work or important work. It's really helpful to be working with somebody but to have that specific support of how we can muscle test for exactly what your body is looking for is such a valuable gift and a blessing that I'm so, so grateful for. What else do I want to say about this Full Moon Challenge? Here's something that I noticed too. This is interesting. So I'm like a pretty average pooper, as you're going to find out. I don't hide much of my life from people. So I will have like eat poop. Like I have pretty good bowel movements throughout the day. What happens inside the Full Moon Challenge is interesting. Usually within the first day and a half to 2 days, either my bowels really speed up and I've got much more quantity and much more frequency before it kind of balances back out again to just more quantity. The other thing that it'll sometimes do is it'll really slow down for the first day and a half to 2 days. And I kind of go like, well, what is this about? And I really it's not a feeling of constipation. It's just a feeling of like, why am I only going twice a day versus like, 3 or 4 times a day? So there's that sense of like nothing is coming. But then when it does come, I can now tell by the look of my bowel movements if there are going to be parasites in there that I can see. And then, you have to be willing to look if that's really what you are up to. And sometimes I can't because of Odin running around. He knows we're looking for buggies. That's what we call it. We're looking for buggies in our poop. And that's what he knows about himself too. And so he knows that he feels better when he can pass them. And so there are times where I can see kind of the threads kind of sticking out of his bowels. And I'll let him know, like, look, buddy, you got rid of some buggies. And he'll be like, yes. It's adorable. Train them young, right? So there are also times where I can tell that there's a lot of good stuff in his poop. And I want to know what's in there. I want to know that what we're doing is effective. And so there are times where I literally have had to, his favorite job is to flush the toilet, right? So when he's in the potty and we're still wiping him, he's only 4. I get him cleaned up, I pop him off of the potty, and he turns around right away to flush. And there are times where I have had to drop trow so fast and sit myself on the potty to be like, oh, mama's got to go potty. I'll do the flushing when we're done. And then he'll say, no, mom, I'll stand here to do it. And I'll say like, no, it's going to take me a long time. I have to do a really big poop. That's all I tell him. And then I'm lying through my teeth because I just need him to get out of the bathroom so that I can take a look to see. So I can tell by how the form of his bowels are. Most of the time I'm right. When I get in there and move it around, and you guys, I'm not in there like with my fingers. If you have gloves, fine, go ahead and do it that way. Wooden chopsticks work, popsicle sticks work. Sometimes if I just want to take a really quick peek, I just grab a stream of toilet paper, which I know is a hot commodity right now in COVID-19. I think I have only like 7 rolls of toilet paper left in my house. I will just roll it up like you're rolling up a yoga mat. You know, if you roll it up kind of quickly and not so tightly, it's more loose. You get more of like what looks like a funnel, but it's firm enough to just dip it into the toilet and just do like a quick swipe through of that log of bowels. Usually you will feel the catch on something as you see the bowels start to separate, and you know that there is something in there and can look further in however way you want to do that. I mean, on the daily, I get text messages or Facebook messages from people who are sending me pictures of literally what is coming out of them. We had somebody the other day who sent me a text message during the morning, and she had to pull, so her description was, as she was having a bowel movement, it was coming out, but she said she couldn't feel it, and like she couldn't hear it landing in the toilet, and she couldn't figure that out. And she said, I kind of like wagged my tail for a second to see if I could get it to come, and it didn't come. And she said, I looked down, and she said the width of those big thick straws that come with your mason jar smoothies, right? Those like bigger, wider straws. I mean, they're like that big around. She said it was the width of 2 of those, and she had to look down, and she actually had to pull it out of her. She said it was from her wrist to her forearm and was completely white. I've had a few of these described to me before, and one woman who did like pulled it out and actually washed it off found that it was like intricately braided. She looked it up. She went to Wikipedia and she said, it looks exactly like what they describe a ropeworm looking like. So that's shown up frequently, and these guys can be really, really hard to get rid of. And so it's exciting to know that the work we're doing here is, a nice push for getting those out of the body. So there is really no end. We've had people passing them in their urine. We've seen red, white, green, and black are kind of the 4 different colors that we have seen, all different shapes and sizes. Some of them look like one kind of tiny, Julie says, how did she not pass out after seeing that? Well, she was a little freaked out. I'll tell you that. She was freaked out. And then another question, so curious, how do I know I have them? I feel like I need testing. Yeah, so this we do with nutrition response testing. Like I said, we can't treat, diagnose, and prescribe, but we can actually, if you fall on the immune system vials, or test for the immune challenge vials, then hold the phone here. Let me grab it. There are a couple different ways we do that. These are the test kits that we use. So this, each of these families, it's like not in order, but say funguses, viruses, bacteria, parasites, and then a way for us to go a little bit deeper and find out if they are mutated in any way. And then in our CellCore kit, we can get really deep, even more specific with kind of the family of the parasite that might be testing for that person. And then it's our job to find the right antidote. Like, what is the right protocol that's going to test perfectly for that person? And just because phase 1 of CellCore is like a really great place to start, we can't just throw you on phase 1 CellCore. Your body might say, like, no way, what do I do with this energy? There's no way I can handle that. So our testing allows us to move really slowly but surely to move you into that space of, we have people who only test for 1 or 2 bottles of the phase 1, and some who can test for all 5 with the optional 6th bottle of phase 1 at one time. So Denise, in answer to your question, it's like such a it's so individualized. That's the beauty of nutrition response testing, whether you're dealing with fungus or a food issue or chlorine toxicity. Nutrition response testing get just like uber specific with you, and manage your health over time, which may look very different than the others in your household as well. One thing we find too is that people who have pets in the home, if we are having a really tough time getting rid of parasites with people, and I will say this is what happened in my house. It was like all of a sudden there were 2 of us testing for parasites, and then 3, and then 4, and then all 5. And then finally I looked at that dog, this rescue dog that's been in our house for 3.5 years. And that 3.5 to just under 3.5 year point was like the tipping point when we all kind of started to fall in terms of our health and stress, anxiety in everybody. I mean, all the symptoms. And so then we have to bring the dog into the mix. So at my house, I get the like financial piece that it is, because sure, I get wholesale, but I also have 5 family members on protocols, including a stinking dog. So, so I really get what that's about. And I know I could literally just keep talking and talking. And I know we only have a couple more minutes, and I could actually see that we should, like I said earlier, maybe do a deeper, more detailed conversation. But I'd love to know if you guys have any questions in closing. I see we just got one via Facebook message, just came in from somebody earlier on. Any questions about what might be right for you? Do you have questions about anybody in your family? They are a thing. Parasites are a thing. We see people who come in with like, any food to eat or not eat. That's a really good question, Julie. So the sugars, that's obvious, right? We always talk about sugar here and really just avoiding any sugars. However, parasites are particularly partial to starches. They party down on beans and legumes. So really avoiding those foods is a really great way to start. And I would say, if you have a hard time avoiding any of these foods, the time to literally do it is like for sure around full moon. I mean, we start to see the moon phase pick up about a week to 10 days before a full moon. And that stays pretty active for 5 to 7 days after that full moon. And people just go through their changes. I mean, for real. So if you're struggling with what to avoid, or you want to just avoid those foods and it's hard to do that for the entire month, it's kind of like having a period. Like you're prepared for your cycle and you avoid the things that trigger you or not, but you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. That would be when and how I would avoid. Do you still take your normal program while you do this challenge? Yes. So what's really great about the full moon challenge, thanks Crystal for asking this, is you can go on with whatever your regular protocol is, even if you're just doing kind of like an at home, this is what I take because I think it's good for me. You just add in the full moon challenge for that 3, 5, or 7 day duration. Does that make sense? And then that pops off again. So your biotoxin binder, para 1 and para 2 would just come in for that duration. And then you would set it aside again until you're ready to do the next full moon challenge again. Can I just validate Nichi's CellCore line? It's wonderful. Thank you for introducing me to CellCore. I know, Cindy, we have done some things together. It's very exciting. Yeah, lots of movement, right? Lots of movement in that direction. Tomorrow, I will let you guys know it's at noon, I think, right? Yeah, Anita says to me, yes, I agree. This is wonderful. Tomorrow
yes.
at noon, we are bringing on my good friend, Katie Baumchak. She's also a shamanic energy healer. She's a emotional freedom technique practitioner. She and I have done lots of work together one-on-one. She's gotten me through lots of amazing healing. And we are going to do a tapping for kids session tomorrow. So we did just a general group tapping session two weeks ago now, I think it was. And that was really great. And if you're looking for just an example of that, you can go to myhealthybeginning.com, click on blog, and then just go down a post or two and it'll say emotional freedom technique. Go ahead and you can read that article and click at the bottom to take you to the actual Zoom video recording, so you can walk through like what it is to tap through a session. And that was dealing with like resistance and fear and resentment and anxiety, just all the things going on right now in the world. But since then, we've had lots of our families who are like, oh, I just am feeling so stuck and it's so hard being at home with the kids, whether I work or whether I not. I mean, whether I work or don't work, it's the kids and supporting their stress and their tension and their overwhelm and their anxiety. And so we are really seeing a need to service the kids. So we are inviting you to show up with your kiddos for that Zoom/Facebook Live tapping session tomorrow from 12 to 12:30. And we will be, pre-registration is required, and we will be recording it because we want to be able to save that on the blog post so that we can direct other families to having that fabulous resource down the road if they aren't able to make it to that one. So again, if there are topics that you guys want to see or more information about a particular subject, definitely reach out, because we are going to use these Wellness Wednesdays as an opportunity to just create community and share information and educate. And Anita, I'm totally jealous of this like beautiful clouds and blue sky outside business you have going on behind you. I'm like looking out the window. I want to play hooky. If there's nothing else from you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And we will hopefully see you on another Wellness Wednesday chat. Bye-bye.